Hey, hey, hey. Hey, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, me too. Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. It is Friday, right? Hey, Christina. Hey, Music City Mom. Hey, Chica. Hey, Pointer Lover. Hey, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi to all my mods Heather, Nora's grandma, Erin. How are you guys doing? How was everyone's week? Was it just as exciting as mine? Hey, Laura W. Welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in. Hey, Will B. Hey, K-Braze. I'm waiting just a second before I start going with everything. I have a tweet saying that I'm live that'll go in about a minute, so I don't want to go over everything until everything kind of, goes through. Hey, Quinny. Yeah, I my last 24 hours have kind of been a shit show, not gonna lie. It's hey Pamela, Minnesota. Hey Glowbug. It's but in like a good bad way. I had someone close to me kind of get hit with some medical issues, which I'm obviously not going to go into detail. That's their business. Um and it was just a lot of like, am I going here? Am I going here? Where do I need to go? What do you need me to do? And I can luckily say that that person is now home and hopefully doing well. I'm getting updates every once in a while. But it's been like that where I got the call at like 10 p.m. last night. I was like, am I going to be driving somewhere at this time? Am I going right away in the morning? So then that person being transferred, and it's been a whole thing. But when you care about someone, you're willing to do whatever you can to help. So that was kind of where I was at. But so far, so good. Everything's kind of stabilized at this point. Hey, Shay. So, that's good. That's good. But yeah. Hey, hey, hey. All right. So, as you guys know, I am very much into telling the stories of victims. And so there's 4 cases tonight. The reason I am doing the 4 separate cases is because there's not a ton of information per case, but they are all connected. So they are names that you, if you do follow true crime or anything like that, are going to look familiar to you. There has been a significant break in their case, which we will talk about not in detail at the end. It'll have its own stream of like the exacts of everything. But today, I want to talk about each victim individually, let you guys get to know them a little bit, and then the different happenings of their disappearances, also to like when remains are found and so on. I have obviously a bunch of slides done. I think there was 22, but a lot of them are more of just me talking. And as you all know, when I get nervous and I get on here until I get comfortable, I talk really fast. Um, so hey Sleuth Mom. It's like just one of those things where they are being lumped together as the victims of one person, and I want to make sure that each one of them is individualized in who they were as people and not just as the victims of one person, if that kind of makes sense. um yeah, exactly, Quinny, and that's kind of my whole point. But so yeah, that's kind of what we're gonna do here. And so does anyone have any questions before I start? Just curious. Hey, Merp. If not, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Once again, guys, I use the overlays because that way I'm not having to search everywhere on my computer. So you won't see me, but you'll hear my voice as I'm talking over everything. And I have my notes on the side, so if you hear pages turning, that is why. And it'll kind of match here and there to like what I'm doing. So, what's my favorite ice cream flavor? Usually like mint chocolate chip or cookies and cream. I don't like chocolate, so anything but that. But I don't know, I'm afraid to ask. Salted caramel's good too. Okay, Pamela, you can have my chocolate then. All right. You guys ready to get started with everything? I'm going to bring up who we're going to be meeting hypothetically and talking about today. All right. So, as you guys can see, we're going to be talking about these 4 young women. We have Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. We have Melissa Barthelemy. We have Lynn Costello, and we have Megan Waterman. So, does anyone know any of these women or their cases, or have heard of them, or something along those lines? Just nope. Okay, K-Braze. Well, I'm excited for you to learn about them, K-Braze. Shay has. That doesn't surprise me. Laura W, no, you haven't. You've heard of all of them, Pamela. So that's the thing is I think when you're looking at the individual names and the individual faces of everything, you're not seeing the headlines that their names are being tied with normally. So I'm going to go through their stories. At the very end here, I will be able to, yes, Quinny, and that's kind of the whole thing is I'm not going to bring that up to the very end so that they can all each have their moment and then have the ability to then have a separate stream where we kind of go over who all did this. Hey, Casey, I'm glad you found us too. Thank you for coming. Hey in the bushes. Hey in the Dax. All right. So I'm going to do them in the order that you guys are seeing them here. So we are going to be starting with Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. All right. Let me grab. We have what happened to Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. These are 3 photos of her that are, there's also not a ton of photos or information regarding all 4 of these women, to the point that a lot of the personal information that I've got about them came from their public obituaries, which sucks. It's not like something that I enjoy, that I'm not able to find anything other than that. But yes, we're going to kind of tell you who they are, who they were, and then the circumstances regarding what happened to each one of them. At the end, I also have my Google Earth, which I have mapped out the significant locations in each case, as well as where their bodies are found. So we'll go over that at the very end. And then, so yeah, let's get into this. So Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. Yes, so these are all cases that were from the from 2008 to 2010 is when these women were killed. Yeah, exactly. Now you're making me want Olive Garden though, Erin, I'll tell you that. Hey, Lori. All right. So we have Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. Let's get into knowing a little bit more about Maureen. She was born June 14th, 1982 in New London, Connecticut. Her parents are Marie Ducharme, which you guys know, if I butcher any of these names, I'm so sorry. Please correct me in chat. um, and her father, Robert Senecal. She has three siblings. She has William View Jr., Melissa View, and Brianna Senecal. William View Jr. Passed before her, so he was one that preceded her in death. And Brianna is her half sister, but uh, that wasn't something that they would specify necessarily. Yes, Casey, exactly. All right, so we have. Let us see. She also has two children. She has Nicolette Brainerd-Barnes and Dylan Haggett. I assume that they are potentially from different fathers, but like I said, there's not a ton of information out there regarding her kids, which I think is a good thing. I don't think her kids really have anything to do with it, and it's not like I would share a ton of information about them anyways. But according to her friends and family, she was a good mother. She was a loving and trusted person. And this is going to come down to something that all of the girls, the women that we're talking about here had in common, which is that they all were in the sex trade. They were all sex workers, which I think brings in a lot of the information regarding who's done this and everything like that, which we're not going to get into at this very second. But yeah, it's definitely plays a significant role in this. So we're going to get to, one more thing about her is she is 4'11", 4 foot 11 inches. Hi, Corey. And only weighed 105 pounds. So she was a very small, petite young woman, which we will actually find to be the case for all of these women. But yes, so let us now. Unfortunately, that's pretty much what we know about her. I know that at the time of her disappearance, she was 25 years old. And she was, Elisa, she was. She had just gotten a eviction notice that she needed fast cash, so she had got back into the sex work industry to be able to have the ability to not be evicted for her and her children. That is kind of the overview of why the night that she goes missing to the night that she's reported missing are like, it's not something that she was just actively doing, which I don't think it matters. But that is why she was doing it, because she was making sure that she could keep a roof over herself and her children. So we are going to get to the differences and everything with Maureen herself. So Maureen was working as a sex worker. She was advertising on Craigslist and Backpage, and as well as other websites. I know they had something called Adult Friend Finder that was utilized a lot in this line of work. Hey, 1960. Welcome in. And just different things like that. So she was living in New London, Connecticut, and she had taken an Amtrak train from New London to Grand Central Station in Manhattan, and she was known for staying at the Super 8 Motel. I'll be able to show you guys exactly where that's located, but it's on 59 West 46th Street in Manhattan. She oftentimes would advertise herself as Juliana or Marie, and it was a routine of her to travel to New York for a few days to be an escort, to meet with clients, and then would go back home to Connecticut. So this is all happening technically July 6th. So she does this July 6th of 2007. So we're going all the way back to 2007. Hey, K-Bird. So she was known to utilize the Super 8, the Red Roof Inn, the Carter Hotel, and the Manhattan Hotel, all in Manhattan, and would occasionally work with another female who would work at the same hotel as her, but just in a different room. Both would utilize a male friend, a mutual male friend of the two of them, to utilize and say that he was their cousin, and they would use him for like safety and protection, but obviously it's not like something that he sat there and protected them. It's more of just he was there. So hey, Amanda. We are then going to say that on this trip, the trip that she goes missing, she did actually travel with this friend that she worked with. And when I say worked with, once again, I mean worked in the same hotel, different rooms, different clients. But they did go on this trip, but she came home. The friend had come home early, and Maureen had stayed. So she had stayed, and that was starting on July 6th of 2007. And then we come to the night of July 9th, 2007. So she had been doing her few-day trip into the city. And at 11:43, she had called a friend in Connecticut, told the friend that she was going to do an out call, which apparently what I've learned after doing all of this research is there's an in call, which is where the person comes to the escort's location, and there's an out call. Sorry, Heather. And there's an out call where the escort will go with the client to where the client would like to go. So that night, she had told a friend via phone call to a friend back home that she was doing an out call, meeting someone outside of the motel. Never seen from after that. Yep, we're just about to get there, Lori. Took the words right out of my mouth. Marines was reported missing by a friend to the Norwich PD on July 14th, 2007. So it was only 5 days after that night where she goes missing that they actually do report her missing, and it is a friend from back home. So that is kind of the whole thing. NYPD, because she went missing in New York, was helping the Norwich PD with the missing persons case and so on and so forth. But they eventually do take over the case, and it becomes an NYPD case. Now, that's really all of the information we have on Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. We do know her remains are found on December 13th, 2010, on the north side of Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. So that'll be the first hint to how she could potentially tie into other cases and what we'll end up getting to after we're done telling each individual victim's story. So let us see. Oh, one other thing though that was interesting about Maureen's case is that her friend Sarah actually received a call from a man on an unfamiliar number claiming that Maureen was alive and in quotations at a whorehouse in Queens. And when Sarah was asking questions, asking to talk to Maureen, the guy just refused to identify himself, refused to give the location of this said whorehouse, and said that he would call her back with an address. Obviously, he never did. That call obviously has not been released. But hey, Muscles and Mascara. It's something that her friend Sarah has talked about has been interviewed about. Hey, Elizabeth Lander, welcome in. And one thing she did say is that the caller did not have a New York or Boston accent. We do end up finding out when Maureen is found that she was strangled and that she was bound at the ankles and was wrapped in camo burlap. So that is kind of the entirety of Maureen's case. And I just think it's very important that Maureen be remembered as being a loving mom. She was doing this to keep a roof over the heads of her children. And that there's just a lot more to why people get into sex work. And I mean, she's a beautiful young woman and she didn't deserve anything that happened to her. So the next of our victims, which this one threw me, and me and my mods had to really have conversations about this, because the next victim that we are going to be talking about, hey Melissa Jade, is Melissa Barthelemy. So you guys may see here that there's 3 pictures here, and it took us, me and my mods spent a lot of time on like a group call trying to figure out, because sometimes the pictures on the outside are used, sometimes it's the pictures in the picture in the inside. And as you can tell, yes, they are all the same woman. We have been able to figure that out. But it took us a very long time to figure it out, because her sister also comes into play in this, not as a victim, but in the storyline of everything. And so it was one of those things where we were trying to make sure that we weren't going to be putting out any information regarding how everything has come out. But we were able to verify that these are all 3 Melissa Barthelemy. And it's just different timelines in her journey. So, hey, cool gamer. I just wanted to put that out there because I know that the pictures kind of look drastically different. I want to say when she had the brown curly hair, it was when she was younger. The blonde is closer to when she goes missing. So let us get into learning about Melissa. Check on you guys too. People have to do things to get through life sometimes. They are not pretty, but walking in her shoes, who knows what she could have done better. Exactly. Right. Hey, Spicy Sugar, welcome in. This is why I always feel like sex workers should be legalized. Legal sex work is always safer. Yeah. Well, and we talked about this too in Shannon Gilbert's video as well, how because it's illegal, it makes it so much harder for sex workers to actually go to police if something were to happen, or just different things. Because if they go and say, hey, this person, did this to me during this, they could potentially get in trouble for that. Hey, Ava, welcome in. So it's definitely one of those things that there's a lot that needs to be worked on to, whether you believe it should be legalized or not. They're still people. So it's just, yeah. Corey Reeves, and there's a lot of things that never will be safe. It doesn't even have to be sex work. It could be potentially any job position. So I think there's just a lot to it. Yes. And Heather says, right, and it may not be for everyone, but they're working for what they want/need in life. Absolutely. Yep. And like Shay just said, their lives mattered and they're loved by many. Absolutely. Okay, so let me introduce you guys to Melissa Barthelemy. Melissa was born on April 14th, 1985 in Buffalo, New York, to her parents, Lynn Barthelemy, and her stepfather, Jeff Martina, as well as her father, Mark Spilla. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And then Melissa also has one sister named Amanda. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. K-Berries, yes. Yeah. There are men sex workers. I'll say like the actual, like, when I've seen it, it's been, I don't even know. But yes, there are. I haven't actually looked up the statistics of that, but there are. But I just don't know regarding, when different publications cover things or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know why they don't cover that more often than women, but yeah. So at the time that this is all happening, Melissa is 24 years old and she was 4 foot 10 inches. So once again, very little, very petite, just like Maureen was. They are very much petite young women. No, you're good, K-Braze. No problem. All right, let us continue. All right. She lived in the Bronx in New York. So she did a lot of her work with meeting clients and such in New York. It wasn't something that she had to travel like Maureen did from Connecticut. But she used Adult Friend Finder to put her services out there. And she was known for meeting her clients at bars, restaurants, and hotels on the west side of Manhattan. And she would go by the aliases of Chloe or Very Sexy Chloe. So that's one thing that I wasn't expecting, is all of these women are utilizing completely different names from their own. Like, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I wasn't expecting it. So she was 24 at the time, Lori. And she was known as being, a happy, loving person, determined. And there's just a lot. Melissa was a good person. So, right. All right. So now we'll get into her disappearance. Her disappearance was July 12th of 2009. She had stated, and this is in quotations, "I'm going to see a man, be back in the morning." I'm assuming that this is via text message. So actually, Shay, this one was Adult Friend Finder, which I assume is similar, just not as widespread of like the potential advertising. So I know Craigslist had like a personal advertising, but they also had other stuff. So hey, Rainbow Mom, good to see you. But yeah. Okay, so not only was that the last text message, but they were able to track her cell phone pings. So Melissa's phone pinged in 4 significant locations the night that she disappeared. Hey, the Bigfoot 952, welcome in. Hey, MK, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. But her cell phone's pinged in Manhattan, Freeport, Massapequa, and Lindenhurst. So if you guys are more familiar with her case and the other cases, hey, Aries, then I think one of those in particular, the Massapequa area, is something of interest at this point, which we can get into later on. But there's definitely, it was very interesting to me that they had the ability to track her phone. She also did originally was tracked from going home from her home in the Bronx to Manhattan via taxi. And yeah, Melissa Jade, he did. So then it says on July 18th, her mom could not get a hold of her, so she reported her missing. Yes. Absolutely. All right. So once they did get these cell phone activity pings, they were able to, hey, sweet Melissa, they looked at all the motels in the area, investigated all of them. They all came up with nothing. So one of the craziest parts about this Melissa's case is the fact that the killer calls Melissa's younger sister Amanda. Hey, Chrissy, welcome in. Melissa Barthelemy's younger sister Amanda received a number of taunting calls using Melissa's phone. They were thought to be from the killer. The very first one was made near the Authority bus terminal on 8th Avenue, which is near Penn Station. And the police were actually immediately able to canvass the area where this call came from, but due to the pedestrian traffic, they weren't able to find any leads. I do have an article here that I'm going to bring up quick. As I continue, it's going to kind of go over who Melissa's sister is and more of the exacts of what he had said to her. So it says, Amanda F., the sister of Melissa Barthelemy, one of the victims of the Go-Go Beach serial killer, detailed the horrifying ordeal she and her family endured at the hands of the suspect. She said that the man who was arrested last week used to call her from her sister's cell phone and taunt her with details of the murder. He had a strong accent, New York, Long Island. He was very monotoned when he talked, like a middle-aged white guy, Amanda told PIX11 in 2020. Shortly after the Netflix movie about Go-Go 4 was released, he knew my name. He knew what I looked like. So this is one thing that I find really interesting because she stated that he had a strong accent, where if you guys remembered when we were talking about the person who called Maureen's friend Sarah, she said that he did not have a New York accent. So it's just very interesting. So now we're going to get into, I'm going to throw up a trigger warning because we are going to get into what he had potentially said to her while taunting her. So we have, he killed her. He R'd her. Hey, Smokey P. Maybe one day he'd tell me where she was, shared Amanda F., laying bare the emotional turmoil inflicted by the relentless call. Amanda said that the man called her 7 times in 2009 when she was just 15 and shortly after her sister disappeared from the Bronx where she worked as an escort. Technically, she disappeared from Manhattan, but yes. I was going to say that too. I was actually going to bring it up because I realized it when I said it. But yes, I didn't mean, I meant like I'm going to throw up the article, not vomit. So thank you. Lucky you, Aries. I do all the time, but I have really bad acid reflux. Yeah, Angie, just like Shannon. It says, while recalling a phone call made back then, when she was recalling it in 2020, Amanda said that he called her sister derogatory names and admitted to killing and R-ing her. He killed Melissa after having sex with her, Amanda recalled. In the final call, he'd said he killed her. So, yeah. Right. Well, and this was her younger sister that was getting these calls too, which I guess considering she was a minor, she was probably at home. So, yeah, she was probably sharing them. Can you imagine being 15 and knowing that your 24-year-old sister was assaulted and murdered? You know? That's just crazy to me. Yeah. It's some of the behavior that marks as true serial. Yeah, from someone that kills several people. That taunting, that is right. Yeah. So that was just the little article there that I wanted to make sure that we read, because I do think it's important. So yeah, exactly. So then we go on to Melissa's remains were found on December 11th, 2010. And she was the first body found when her remains were found. Once again, like I said, after we go through each case, I am going to bring up the map so you guys have the ability to see all of these different locations as well as where the remains are found. Okay, so does anyone have any questions as of yet? We have two more that we're going to go through before we kind of get into map time. Absolutely. Hi, the Bigfoot. All right. I don't know, Aries. I'm not quite sure. Well, I'll be able to show you that in here in a little bit. No, Shay, I don't. It's more of just like, here's the map. Oh, Smokey P, don't bring up Dollar General. Not again. Oh, thank you, Aaron. See, Heather Brad, if I started singing Dora songs, though, like, I feel like I'd get copyright. And I'm not even monetized. And I'd still get a copyright for something. Okay, so the yeah. The next victim that we are going to be talking about, and I'm going to introduce you guys to and tell you a little bit more about, is Megan Waterman. So these three pictures here of Megan, and I'm going to kind of introduce you guys to her. So Megan Waterman was born January 18th, 1988 in Portland, Oregon. Her parents are Lorraine Ela and Gregory Gove. She had 5 siblings. She had a brother, Gregory, and then 4 sisters named Allie, Stephanie, Bethany, and Amanda. And she also had a 3-year-old at the time daughter named Lily. She currently resides in Scarborough, Maine. Is that Maine? No, that's Massachusetts, but I think it's supposed to be Maine. Maine. So don't look at that. Scarborough, Maine. Megan had loved music. She loved dancing. She loved going to the beach. She loved spending time with her daughter, Lily. Her favorite things to do with Lily were reading, watching movies, playing games, and most of all, snuggling. She was a very good mother. Her being a mother as well is what ends up leading to her missing persons report being filed so quickly. Right? Hey, Ringo. Yeah, snugs, not drugs. Absolutely. Hey, Carrie G. All right. So, like I said, this is pretty much there's not a ton of background information on all of these women, which sucks because a lot of the times when you're seeing their stories now, it is something that we're hearing their stories starting. Their stories are starting at the night that they go missing, or at their jobs, or whatever the case, but they're not being told as people, they're being told as victims in a story. Good to know. Hey, Alibi. Yeah, exactly, Aries. They all did have full lives ahead, but were unfortunately cut short by evil. Absolutely. All right. So, Megan had utilized both Craigslist and Backpage. She went by the aliases of Lexi or Sexy Lexi. She was last seen getting on a bus, which was a Concord Tailways bus, to New York City from Maine, allegedly with her pimp. But that is something that has not been super proven, but that was in multiple articles. So I just wanted to put that out there. Which is different from the rest of them because the rest of them didn't potentially have pimps. So thank you, Melissa Jade. I appreciate that. Yep. Casey, well, not only do they write them off, but they, a lot of times, because of the circumstances of who did this and everything, it gets tied into the sensationalism of a SK. So for those of you that don't know, it is serial blank. YouTube does not like that word, so I'm not going to say it, but they get sensationalized to the point where they just become a number in these cases, and that's not something that I ever want, at least portrayed on my channel, that they are people, they are individuals that did not deserve what happened to them, no matter what they did for a job, whatever choices they made. Absolutely not. And so that's why I think it's so important to tell you guys who they were as people, and then tell you the story of them going missing and everything like that, to then be able to eventually give you guys the story of the justice for them. And that's something that I'm looking forward to. It is in the works, but it is definitely something that yeah. Yeah, hopefully, Aries. All right. So then we get to her disappearance. She takes that bus and goes and stays at the Holiday Inn Express at 2050 Express Drive in I don't know how to say this, and I'm going to say it so wrong. Where's Merp when I need her? Merp, are you listening? It's Hauppauge, or Melissa Jade too, because you live on the East Coast over there. But it's Hauppauge, Hauppauge. Does anyone know? Yeah, I don't know how. Is that? Am I saying it right or am I saying it wrong? Hauppauge, Hauppauge. Which one, Heather? Melissa or Merp? I'm not quite sure, but either way, Hauppauge, New York. Haupogo? What? I'm on my phone. Sorry. You're fine. I don't know. Either way, she was known to stay at that Holiday Inn Express, but she was also known to stay at other hotels and motels on Long Island, including the extended stay America and Bethpage. I know. Hauppauge? Oh, that is not how I said it the first time, Ava. Yeah. So June 6th, Megan Waterman had left her Holiday Inn Express Always said the person's name before the disability, for example, Mallory, who has autism. Yeah, absolutely. Because they're still people. Hop-og. Hop-hog? Really? It's that simple? Hop-og? Sweet Melissa said, I'm 2 hours from New York and I can't pronounce it either. Hop-og. Huh. Nifty. All right. She leaves her Holiday Inn Express at 1:30 a.m. on June 6th, 2010 to meet a client. She actually calls her pimp, who was in Brooklyn at the time, was not at the hotel with her, but had gone down to New York with her, to tell him that she was going to the convenience store next door. And right, Heather. And it was then that she is not seen from again. So she had called to say she was going to the convenience store. She was also supposed to meet a client within that same time frame. And it's, yeah, definitely an interesting time frame. So because she was such a present mother that even when she's gone, she would call to check in with her daughter. Hey, Jane Doe. And so when she didn't call, within 2 days of her being gone, her mother, her family, had reported her missing on June 8th, 2010, due to the fact that she did not call to check on Lily, who was, once again, age 3 at the time. She was very known to, even when being gone working, she was known for being attentive. She still called. She still made sure that she knew what was going on. She was reported missing to the Scarsborough Police Department in Maine. They had called in the Suffolk County Police Department to assist. And then obviously eventually take over. And then her remains are found December 13th, 2010. Once again, on Gilgo Beach, near Gilgo Beach. Okay, so that is Megan Waterman, wonderful mom. Yes, beautiful smile, Corey. That's absolutely accurate. But once again, potentially meeting a client and just never comes back. Also, her, like the rest of them, were found wrapped in the camouflaged burlap. All right. So the final victim that we will be talking about today, that I will be introducing you guys to. Oh, actually, one more thing about Megan's case. In 2012, her pimp was actually arrested. He was arrested on federal charges of interstate T-wording. Oh gosh. Like if you're getting into a traffic jam type of thing, that type of T-wording, of prostitution. So he was charged. He was sentenced to 3 years in a federal prison, and that began January 2013. So based on that, I would assume he's out, but I haven't seen anything to the contrary one way or the other. But since he was only sentenced to 3 years, and that was 10 years ago. Yes, Nora's grandma. Yep. And I'll make sure to go over that too at the end. Ticket? Ticket for what? Yeah. That picture, actually, now that you say that too, Laura W., she does remind me a lot of Lacey Peterson in that picture. They have the same smile and the same eyes. All right. So the next young woman that I'm going to introduce you to is Lynn Costello. So one thing that I will say about Amber's case is she does have a different backstory. behind, you know, kind of her life and such, and that even though she was, actively utilizing different drugs and stuff like that, uh, it doesn't make her case any less important or any less anything when it comes to everything else. So I just want to say, like, although she wasn't living the lifestyle that most of us look for, I think it's still important to know that she's a victim. She didn't deserve what happened to her, and we're still going to tell her story with dignity and respect because, yeah. All right. Are we ready for Amber Lynn Costello? All right. Amber Lynn Costello was born February 10th, 1983 in Wilmington, North Carolina, to her parents, Alfred P. Overstreet Jr. and Margaret Ann, I want to say Sassy, but I want to say that the E is probably silent. But I don't know. So, those are her parents. She was described as being a natural helper. What did I do? Oh, open. Sorry, Aaron. Was me switching the pages in my notebook. Sorry. Oh, okay. She was known for being a natural helper, but she did have a difficult childhood and faced a lot of personal struggles. Thank you, K-Braze. Sorry, pointer lover. Sorry. Um, Sass. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Thank you, K-Bird. All right. She also had one sister named Kimberly, and although she was born in North Carolina, she had spent some time in Clearwater, Florida. But currently had lived in West Babylon, New York. So she lived, which I'll be able to show you guys, on America Avenue. The one thing that I do find interesting about Amber and Amber's case is, oh, you're okay, Punksy. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Rainbow Mom. That before she'd moved to New York, she had moved to New York from Clearwater, Florida, and she had actually just recently completed a 28-day rehab, but had unfortunately relapsed very shortly before her disappearance. I know her drugs of choice was the H word. So for those of you that don't understand YouTube slang, it's going to be something along the lines of hero, adding to that. But yeah. So we will then get to Amber had utilized Craigslist and Backpage. She had used the aliases of Carolina or Mia. And she had a few different tattoos, which a lot of the girls did have tattoos that helped with identification purposes and such. But also Amber was 4'11". So like I said, they were all very small, petite women. So let me then get to, I have to make sure what's on my slides. So I don't want to put up a slide that's too fast or too soon. Okay. Relapsed shortly after. Now, when she was in West Babylon, New York, she lived with 3 other roommates. She lived with 2 men and 1 woman. The way that their dynamics worked is they were all addicted to the hero drug, and that it was something that they all had in common. They all shared one cell phone, which was interesting. So all 4 of the roommates had one cell phone that they all utilized. Both Amber and her roommate were both sex workers. that would go meet clients. And actually, the two male roommates would be the ones that were arranging dates for the other two roommates. Oh no, Merp, that's the worst thing ever. Merp said, "Ugh, I just got home with dinner and they gave me the wrong order." Oh, you always got to check the bag. All right, so, and not only did the roommates help make the dates, arranging the dates is how they worded it, but they did both in calls and out calls. So if you guys remember at the beginning of the stream, I kind of explained the differences between those, of an in call being it where the client comes to the location for the escort, the out call being that the client or the escort goes to wherever the client is. Um, hey, Richard Feller, welcome in. All right, Aries, justice for Merc. All right. So, one other thing that kind of makes me upset, but my feelings don't matter in this, so that's the important part, I suppose. But it was one of those things where, because all four were in the same situations, the male roommates would do sort of a scam for their in calls. So when a client would come to the house that they all shared for either Amber or the other roommate, they would a lot of the times try and scam them. So they would say when they got to the door, like, hey, you have to pay ahead of time, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd pay for the services that they're receiving. And then almost immediately, one of the male roommates would come in and be like, oh my God, you're with my girlfriend. And like go crazy to the point where the client would flee and then they'd be able to keep the money. This was something that they were kind of known to do. But yeah, not necessarily great. And doesn't mean anything regarding Amber's case. But it was something that the male roommates were said to do. So, now we will get to Amber's disappearance. So, her disappearance was the most recent of the rest of them, and actually only a few months before her remains and the other girls' remains were found as well. So, on September 2nd, 2010, she kept getting a call. She got several calls from a client who was willing to pay $1,500 for an overnight out call, which was something that was much, much higher than what she was used to. And so she obviously was like, cool, come pick me up. The client came and picked her up at home. And this was once again September 2nd, 2010. She did not have her phone with her. One of the other roommates had the phone. And unfortunately, Amber was never reported missing. So we then, obviously, her remains are found along Gilgo Beach with the other three victims. Hers are found December 13th, 2010. So, yeah. So that is the stories of the four women who lost their lives from 2007 to 2010. And what I'm going to do now is bring up my Google Earth, and I'm just going to kind of go through everything that I had mapped out. So, all right, I got to make sure you guys are seeing things before I start moving around. All right. So, we are going to, hang on. We are going to start off with Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. So, we have Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. Is this going to bring me to it, or is it just going to continue doing this? There we go. I had to double click. Thank you, everyone. All right. So this is the small town of New London in Connecticut. Right here. If you guys see, it has the little water inlet here. Pretty normal city center, but this is her hometown. Her specific home is now up here. So this was where she resided at the beginning of everything. Yeah, it is awesome. I know. Thank you, Laura W. I appreciate that. All right. So this is her home here. We can see, I don't know. Oh, well, would you look at that? The ability to see the street view. It wants to work with us. And it looks like this here was her home. It looks like a duplex of some kind. But this is where Maureen Brainerd-Barnes lived when she went missing. All right. We then have the hotel that Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. So once again, I'll kind of go over as we're going through this. The original. So we know that she had the 2 children. She was survived by her 2 children. Her brother was already deceased. Her father was already deceased. But that she went from New London, Connecticut, which is where I just showed you guys, took a Amtrak train down to Grand Central Station in Manhattan, and then eventually she stayed at the Super 8 Motel. So we're going to show you guys, which I will end up showing you guys the bigger picture with all of my things here. But right now I'm going to show you the close-ups of everything first. Hey, Steve Arelli, welcome in. Thanks for being here. All right. So it always takes my little marker away when here we go. Which now I believe it is a different hotel. I believe it's now just the Hotel Manhattan or something along those lines. The hotel at Times Square is what it is now. But at one point in time, it was a Super 8 motel. Oh, look, there's a Starbucks. But yeah, this is it here. This building here. And this is the hotel that she was potentially, working from and stuff. So she was also the woman who would work a few days and then come home, so on. She oftentimes would work there with her friend. They'd bring their cousin, in air quotes, to protect them, and that she had got an out call. So this is where she was staying, but it wasn't necessarily where this all occurred. It was, she got a call to meet someone outside of the motel. All right. So then those are the locations for Maureen Brainerd-Barnes. Hey, Avery. Now we will get into Melissa Barthelemy's locations. So we have her hometown of Buffalo, New York, which I didn't realize is like the exact opposite of like New York City, which is so crazy to me. And but yes, so she was born in Buffalo, and she was currently living in the Bronx. So we have her exact address here. We'll see if we can get a street view. Oh, we can. So let us go in and see if we can. All right. So it's got to be one of these row homes here. I'm not sure if it's the red one or the green one. I mean, the, the red one or the white one. But this is in the Bronx where Melissa Barthelemy resided. She was known for meeting her clients at bars, restaurants, and hotels in the west side of Manhattan. Last seen, she had taken a taxi from the Bronx to Manhattan, and then she was reported missing, but she was also the one that we get these cell phone pings from. So we have the first of Melissa Barthelemy's cell phone pings. So you see where her home is, and then we're going to get into the cell phone pings. So you can see the first one here in Manhattan. So just Manhattan. Doesn't really give any other details. We also have a ping a little bit farther down over here in Freeport. Really? Hey, Amy Flat, welcome in. Thank you for being here. And then we also have one more in Massapequa, which is up here. And then one more in Lindenhurst, which is just farther down in Long Island. So, yeah. Like I said, I can zoom out here and you guys will be able to see that we have the mobile ping Lindenhurst, the mobile ping here in Massapequa, the mobile in Freeport, and then the original mobile is a little bit farther up over here in Manhattan. So this is where Central Park is and stuff like that as well. You guys will see as well, her home is over here. And then also the hotel that Maureen Brainerd-Barnes stayed in is right here as well. So one of the phone pings was near the hotel as well that was there. All right. So now we will get into the locations for Megan Waterman. Megan, oh my gosh, too many pages in my notebook. Megan Waterman. Megan Amelia Waterman, which I don't know if I said her middle name before, but her name is Megan Amelia Waterman. Waterman was born across the country, actually. So far out ping, all the way to Portland, Oregon. And then she ends up moving, and her hometown is Scarborough, Maine. So we're going to go from where she's born all the way back to the other side of the country, Scarborough, Maine, which is Megan Waterman's hometown. All right. So we don't have an address for her home, but her home was in Scarborough. So Megan was the one who was seen getting on a bus with her, possibly allegedly with her pimp. And they were seen staying at the Holiday Inn in Hoppo. Nope, never gonna get it. So we see they took the bus all the way down to here. So this is the hotel that she goes missing from. She is said to meet her client on the morning of June 6, 2010. Also tells her pimp that she's going to the convenience store next door. So let's see if we can get down to that level. Ooh, you can even go in the parking lot. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to, Nora's grandma. I am hungry, but I'm craving pizza, not watermelon. All right. All right, let's look around. Well, I would assume this is the Holiday Inn Express here. So as you guys can see, this is the Holiday Inn Express that Megan was staying at. She was also known to stay at a few other hotels, but this is the one she was at when she goes missing. Now, if I look, it said that there is a, let me go back out. Okay, so I'm assuming the convenience store is like this one maybe. Or there's a dollar, oh no, dealer tire, so it's not that one. I would assume it's maybe over here. It's probably like a gas station or something here. Yeah, that's what it looks like. All right. What is 1960? Thank you, MK. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. What's on your bucket list, 1960? Oh, Niagara Falls. Yeah, me too. But so those are the locations for Megan Waterman. So now we're going to get to Lynn Costello. Once again, she is the one that lived with the roommates and was never reported missing. So we have her birth town, which she was born in Wilmington, North Carolina. So once again, this thing always is like makes me dizzy going and reading through all of this. So here we have where Lynn Costello is born. We also then, she ends up, after going down to Clearwater for rehab, she ends up moving back up to, what is it? West Babylon, New York. So we're going to go all the way down and see her house here. And let us get a street view. It's going to bring me in looking at that house, but I want to turn around. And oh, my dad is oh my gosh, it's so little. This is the house according to the address. That can't be. Let me see. Huh. Interesting. So yeah. Ooh, I don't know. 1960, I actually have one of my best friends, born and raised in Adelaide, Australia, and she's been over to the States twice now. She's obviously been to Minnesota because that's where I am. I actually, when I went to New York, saw she was with me in New York, but she also went to like LA. She went to the Grand Canyon. She went to Vegas. She went on like one of those bus tours, and she said it was fantastic. So, I'm not exactly sure. I should probably ask her that. It's interesting though to see the weird things like foods and different things. Like bringing her to a baseball game was so interesting because they just it's not like it is here, obviously. But there's a lot to it. It is fun. The first time she was here for 3 months, and then she left for like 3 weeks and then came back here for Christmas. And so she got to see snow for the first time. So obviously Christmas in Minnesota is Minnesota. What? But yeah. So anyways, all right. Sorry, a little bit of distraction. And this is really all of the areas regarding Lynn Costello because she was picked up at her home. So the next 4 pings I have are where the 4 women's remains are found. So it's going to bring us back to Long Island. We have Gilgo Beach, and you guys will see here that we have Lynn Costello's remains found at the first purple. And then as you go up the road, we have Melissa's Barthelemy's remains, Maureen Brainerd-Barnes remains, and Megan Waterman's remains. They are all found. Thanks, Monkey P. But they are all found, obviously, Gilgo Beach. This is Long Island. And there's definitely a lot more to the story. So if you haven't picked up by now, oh, hey, I can turn it. That's cool. I'm learning every day. All right, I'm going to back out a little bit here so you guys can kind of see the different things. So we have, if you guys see it, obviously it looks a little crazy here. Let me see if I can nope. One more. There we go. This will give you guys a little bit of an easier time seeing the seeing where these different pings and stuff are. So you guys can see here, the remains are found along on Long Island down here. The yellow ping, or the yellow ones, are the pings from Melissa Barthelemy's phone. Yes, I have Nora's grandma. It's very cool. Oh, that sounds fun, Smokey P. And then we have the red ones as homes and hotels that the girls were at. If I go out a little bit farther, you guys will kind of be able to see more of the overview of everything. This is up in Maine. We have Buffalo, New York over here. And you can kind of see how the distance and such is. You're okay, Christy. No problem. But yeah. So does anyone have anything else that they'd want me to look at more closely while I have the map up before I end the live? I'm just curious. Really, Nor's grandma? It was one of the only places that had Mallory on a keychain when I was younger. And I still have it till this day. They had it on a keychain and they had it on a magnet, so I got both. Mallory's becoming a little bit more popular on those name things, but not for a long time. Thank you, Ava. I appreciate that. Rub it in, Smokey P. Rub it in. But I'm going to throw up the pictures. Ooh. It depends on what you're into, 1960. Because I'm sure if you haven't been here, people would say you have to go to the Mall of America. But like, if you're from here, you're just like, oh, I don't want to go to the Mall of America. It's just going to make a bunch of people, just a bunch of people at the same stores that you could see in a different city. I mean, it's cool with all the rides on the inside and, the movie theater and Legoland, and there's an aquarium, and pretty much any food that you can think of at the mall. But it's different because there's a lot of other places. Like, I think it would be so cool to like bring someone up north and go camping or go stay at a cabin because, fishing and boating and campfires is a lot also what Minnesota has to offer. So it kind of just depends on what your niche is. But I'm going to grab, here's another photo as well, guys. So this kind of just shows you, again, a farther out of where each of the girls' remains were found. But then in this small little insert here, it also has where the potential suspect's home was located to in comparison to Gilgo Beach. So if it's definitely this is these 4 women, 3 for sure. Lynn Costello, Melissa Barthelemy, and Megan Waterman are the 3 victims that Rex Heuermann is being charged with in the Long Island serial case, also known as the Gilgo Beach murders, and so on. They are currently trying to tie Maureen Brainard-Barnes, found the same way as the others. It's just not a concrete thing that the perpetrator has been charged with as of yet. And yeah, so as you guys know, they just arrested the potential Long Island serial K. And there's a lot to it, but I don't think the stories of the victims are out there much other than, that they were escorts. They went missing and they were found all potentially strangled. I know at least one of them was bound at the ankles. I'm not sure about the other ones, but all also in burlap, camo burlap. So, yeah. And CR, that's cool. My mom and dad used to live in Bemidji, and that's where they met and got married and stuff. They're divorced now. Sorry, guys. I know you're listening, but whatever. But yeah, so she knows Bemidji well. I've never actually, I think I've been up there for softball when I played when I was younger, but yeah, so I will end up doing a Long Island serial killer. Oh, there you go. I said the words. Oh well. Episode on here. I don't know when. I may wait till more information comes out. I do know that today. Hey, Sweet Misery True Crime. Thank you. Welcome in. That today they actually were able to announce that they had identified one of the seventh victims that was found on Gilgo Beach. Let me see if I can grab that quick. Newly identified. Great. We have prosecutors identify human remains found in 2011 near Gilgo Beach. They found a skull belonging to Karen Vergata. So I'm going to. Cool. Everyone's. Oh, why does it do this to me? Oh my gosh. Hang on, guys. It's making me log in and everything, so I'm going to go to a different article. But the victim that was previously known as the Fire Island Jane Doe has been identified as Karen Vergata. So let me bring up her picture before we end it out. And all right. So this is Karen Vergata. It was announced that she was identified today. And it's just one more person that we have like the potential to work now to get justice towards. So this is a good sign. I don't know much about her, obviously. I have looked into a lot of the other remains that were found on Gilgo Beach, which we could probably go over that too when we go over the case. Oh, thank you so much, Sweet Misery True Crime. And we'll talk about it more then, but this was a good sign today. And I had popped into Sleuth Mom's chat earlier, and was it Sleuth Moms or was it Allie's? One of the two. I think I was watching Sleuth Moms at one point, then I was in Allie's, but one of the main, Alex Erickson, sorry guys, Alex Erickson, I have to remember the YouTube name. But that they had kept the press conference kind of like how I've kept this presentation of focusing on the victims. So, obviously, when the prosecutor of the Gilgo Beach murders was there, and announcing this, he got a lot of questions regarding, Rex Heuermann, and he said today this is about Karen Vergata giving her name to her remains, and um, that was it. Like, they weren't going to answer any questions about the rest of the case or anything else in those regards. Hey, Princess Megan Elsa, welcome in. But yeah, so I will keep you guys updated. I will say, if you guys want more day-to-day updates, if you guys go follow me on Twitter, it's just at Mallory Doyle. I think my mods were dropping it at some point. If not, it's in my bio and such on here. But I retweet a lot regarding the case, and if I ever see anything super, super interesting, then I will. Yeah. Smokey P, which one? Is it bad that I have to say that? Right, Soothmon. I'm waiting for Smokey P to answer, and then I'll throw up my outro and end it out. Well, it depends. I don't know exactly which one you're talking about. I don't know. Email me and I can tell you my thoughts. If you can figure out a name. If it's from here, I know about it. I'm just trying to think of what it is. Yeah. Wait, oh, you mean the toddler that was found on Gilgo Beach, Smokey P? Is that what you're asking me? Hey, Lucia. Oh, that's nice. At least you got to spend time with your granddaughter. Can't fault you for that. Family always comes first. That is something that I will always say is always put your family first. YouTube is not that important when it comes to family first. So. Oh, okay. What do I think about the toddler? Well, so the toddler that they found on Gilgo Beach, they did the DNA of the toddler's remains. The toddler was found next to another set of remains of Valerie Mack, Valerie with a V, and but he or she, I think it was a girl, toddler. Her DNA matched another Jane Doe whose body was found in Tupperware in New York as well. Named that goes by the name Peaches due to her torso being found in Rubbermaid Tupperware. And the only thing that they could find that was like exact was a peach tattoo with a bite taken out of it that was on her left breast, I think. But yeah, it's something where I'm very interested to see how that turned out, not only because they were found in different locations, like Peaches and the toddler, but the toddler was next to another woman named Valerie Mack, who was also deceased, and not far from everyone else. I know that there's also a male body that was found. And so there's a lot more that's with this case, but these are the 4 victims that are currently being that Rex Heuermann, the Long Island SK. Oh, thank you so much, Sweet Misery True Crime. I appreciate that. He's being charged with. Now, if you guys remember two cases ago, because I did a case on Maddie Kingsbury in the middle here, but last week we did Shannon Gilbert's case, which it was in the search for Shannon Gilbert that Maureen, Megan, Melissa, and Amber's bodies were found. So that is kind of how they all tie together. And and it was due to Shannon's disappearance that they searched these areas and they uncovered all of the bodies that they have on Gilgo Beach. So, but I think I'm going to end it out here, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. Please subscribe. This is a place that I'm very, very adamant is going to be victim focused. We're going to advocate for victims, victims' families. Nothing is sensationalized. It's going to be fact-based. And that's very much how I plan to run things from here on out. I do have a handful of cases that I'm working on right now. One of them is from a beautiful subscriber already that is trusting me to look into someone close to their family's case. And the honor of that is crazy to me. So thank you if you're listening. And I'm going to do my best to do it justice. But the coverage of all these cases is so important. So make sure that if a case interests you, please follow it. Watch all of the creators that make it. It doesn't matter if two creators are doing the same information about the same thing. All of the eyes that can get onto these cases is important because getting them out there and getting them recognition is what can make a change. So yeah. All right. Well, stay kind, guys. Please be kind to everyone. And I will leave you guys here with my outro and then I'll end it out. So thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for all the support. It means a lot to me. And yeah, have a great rest of your night. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.